So I am heating up about a tablespoon of olive oil, and to that I'm going to add about a quarter a cup of white onion. Now I have my onions, I cut them up ahead of time, and then just add them to whatever I need to cook with. So we're just going to saute these until they're translucent. And we're doing this just for the flavor. And I want you guys to keep in mind also that, we are quarantined in our state because of the coronavirus. So make adjustments as you need to. You can change some things, add things, leave things out. I'm going to make a few substitutions with what I have here as well. One thing about it, if you're using frozen onions like this, like I freeze mine, you want to have your heat up a little higher than normal, because if you once the onions start to thaw, they release their liquids that was from the freezer, and they just kind of sit in there and boil and not saute. So I'm turning the heat up a little bit. Actually get them to saute here. Just remember, the recipe will actually be in the description below, so you don't have to write this down. You can kind of go through and watch us make it, and then go back and look at the description to get the recipe when you choose to make it yourself. Once again, we don't want to brown the onion. We want to cook it until it's soft. If you brown onions in recipes like soups and like this, they tend to be a little bitter. So we don't want to brown them. Okay, so this recipe calls for 4 cloves of garlic that have been finely chopped. I buy my garlic already chopped in water. And when you're doing the conversion, this will equate to be about 2 teaspoons of pre-chopped garlic. So I'm going to go ahead and add my garlic. Now garlic, you don't want to cook garlic very long. You just want to kind of soften it up a little bit just to release the flavors. And that's probably long enough for garlic right there. So I'm going to go ahead and pour in my chicken stock. Now this recipe calls for 4 cups of chicken stock. That was 2 cups right there. I'm going to go ahead and add 2 more cups to that. And then there's the final 2 cups, which gives us a total of 4 cups. I'll get all that chicken stock out of there. And then we're going to bring this up to a simmer. Now this particular recipe, you'll see, has shiitake mushrooms on it. It calls for 4 ounces of sliced shiitake mushrooms. We do not have shiitake mushrooms, and I didn't even see any in the store when I went shopping, just because the shelves are pretty bare. So this recipe will not have the shiitake mushrooms in it. Alright, and then to this we're going to add about a tablespoon of reduced sodium soy sauce, which I have here. We purchased this Kikkoman's. Has a little bit less sodium in it. So we're going to put about a tablespoon in there. And we're going to let this come up to a boil. And this recipe also calls for specific pasta, but I'm substituting the pasta with thin spaghetti here. Once again, we don't have access to a lot of the oriental pastas that this calls for, so I'll be using thin pasta in mine. And the thin pasta is kind of long. So it's a pretty long piece of pasta. So I'm actually just going to break all my pasta in half. make it a little easier to eat. And the other good thing about the pasta is you don't want to cook it separate. You want to cook it in your broth because it's actually going to help thicken your broth a little bit more like a ramen base. And then you just want to follow your pasta directions. This one here, 6 minutes for al dente, which has a little bite to it. So we'll go ahead and cook this for 6 minutes. And I'm going to use about half of this, which will be about half a pound of dried pasta. And the key behind pasta, like cooking this dried pasta, is you want to make sure it stays simmering all the time. If you let your liquid boil and then reduce it down and then it stops boiling, it'll cause your pasta to become very gummy and not so good to eat. So we want to make sure we keep this at a constant simmer, not a boil. The water just needs to be moving all the time with the pasta. And you want to stir it occasionally just so you don't have the pasta sticking to the bottom of the pot. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take about half my pasta here. Take half my thin spaghetti. Then I'm just going to break it in half. Just like that. Then I'm going to toss it in. Now I didn't get quite half. So I'm going to take a little bit more out here. And I didn't measure that. I just roughly eyed it. Okay. So I'm still letting this boil. And now that I see some bubbles actually starting to roll, I'm actually going to turn this down to about only 2/3 total temperature. And remember, pasta does double in size when it's cooked. So what you see in here dried will be doubled in size. Now, this recipe also calls for finely shredded carrots. And these are very finely shredded. And then it calls for fresh ginger, but once again, we don't have fresh ginger, so I'm using powdered ginger here for this particular recipe, just for flavor. The other thing the recipe calls for is about 4 ounces of spinach. I'm using about 2, just because my kids don't care for a lot of spinach in theirs, so I've modified the recipe a little bit. And that's about the simmer you want to keep, so that there's about bubbles the size of a nickel to a quarter in your pasta. And then, of course, as I said, the starch from the pasta will help thicken up this broth a little bit to make it more like a ramen consistency. My kids do not like the taste of raw carrot, so I'm actually going to put my carrot in about 2 minutes before the ramen's finished cooking, so it softens up a little bit more. They like theirs a little softer. That I have here is just baby spinach. It's really tender. I like it a lot. I eat this raw on salads alone, so this is a good spinach to eat. Very palatable. Even the stems are soft. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and put in my shredded carrot. It's about 1 whole carrot shredded very finely. Then I'm going to go ahead and put in this ground ginger. I'm going to get all of it off there for the flavor. Go ahead and give that a quick little stir. So now I'm going to go ahead and just throw in my spinach. Just going to give that a, kind of let that set in there because it's going to wilt and give it a nice texture and flavor. You know, this recipe is yours. Do with it however you want to. You can add more things to it, take things away. If you like it spicy, you can put some jalapeno in here, some sriracha. There's just so many different things that you can do to make this your own recipe. You'll find out with me, I just kind of give you the blueprint and the basics, and then you can kind of add what you'd like to the recipe. Okay, so this is pretty well done. The pasta is tender, but it's not mushy. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off the heat. And just move that guy back. And then the garnish for our eggs, what I've done, we use, typically for this dish, you do use eggs for a garnish. What I did was, it's real simple to do good eggs, hard-boiled eggs, is you simply put ice cold water over raw eggs and just cover them. You put them on the stove top, bring them to a boil, boil them for 1 to 2 minutes, turn them off, cover them, and then you simply let them set for 15 minutes. Then you put them in an ice bath to shock them so they don't continue to cook all the way through. So, I'm going to go ahead and crack these eggs. And if you do this like in this method, they're very easy to peel. If you overcook your eggs, and it's just difficult. It becomes very difficult to peel. So if you cook your eggs right, that's a good way to measure if you did them right, is they'll be easy to peel. How we're going to serve these is halfway in the broth. So we're going to cut straight through. We've got a nice beautiful egg. Barely has a creamy center. Once again, another good way to tell if you've done eggs correctly or not is if they're green. If they're green, they've set too long. So, first thing I'm going to do is gather me some pasta out of here and stick it in our bowl. And then I'm going to take one of our beautiful little eggs here and just kind of put him off to the side. And then something else I like to do is I like to garnish my ramen with parsley. So I'm going to put some parsley down, and that's dry parsley. And then I'm going to take some of this rich, delicious broth. Right over top. There. So there you have it. Nice, beautiful ramen. Okay guys, so we got the ramen here. I just want to kind of give it a quick taste. I like to taste test everything for you. There it is. It's absolutely delicious. You have the rich chicken broth, seasoned with that ginger and that garlic. You've got the bite of the noodles. You got that creamy taste of that egg that's coming through there, as well as the green parsley and the spinach. It's got that nice green flavor to it. And that rich, silky chicken broth, because when you cook your pasta in the chicken broth and you don't change the liquid, it brings like a silky, smooth flavor to the chicken broth, which is really nice. So, delicious. So there you guys go. You have about a 30-minute meal that you can quickly put together and eat with your family. Something unique, and substitute things out. Like this would taste really good with mushrooms in it, but we didn't have them, so we left them out. So you can kind of alter things. Look forward to your comments. If you would, just subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and then hit the bell notification so that we can let you know when we have new videos out. If you have any questions or would like to see a recipe done or any techniques, feel free to leave us a comment and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Enjoy your day, guys.